Welcome once again, everyone. This is Faith Links English, where I help intermediate learners improve their English speaking skills through practical expressions and phrases that you will need in your daily life. Today, we're going to cover 6 idioms about animal vocabulary and native speakers use all the time, and it will help you to sound natural and more confident in English. Idioms are actually necessary, especially if your level is advanced or if you're an intermediate learner. They help make your vocabulary sound more natural and smoother. So stay with me as we go through 6 common idioms that native speakers use in their everyday conversations. So we've got 6 here. So let's go. The first one, you might have heard this before. It's when you say someone wouldn't hurt a fly. What this idiom means is that this person is harmless, right? It's used to describe someone who's kind, gentle, and who would never intentionally hurt people. So when you describe someone as a person who wouldn't hurt a fly, you're saying that this person will not harm anyone. The person is harmless, is kind, someone that is harmless. So this idiom describes someone that is harmless. If someone wouldn't hurt a fly, it means the person is harmless. And you use this idiom when you're talking about personality trait, someone that has a good or a gentle personality trait. Okay, I'm going to give you some examples. Okay, you can take notes if you want. For example, I would say, my grandmother wouldn't hurt a fly, or my grandfather, or my father. Yeah, this actually describes my father's personality. My father wouldn't hurt a fly. As we're learning, I want you to think about someone in your family that has a really good or gentle personality. Okay? You understand the idiom wouldn't hurt a fly. It simply means someone that is harmless, someone that is gentle. Now the next idiom I have is a lone wolf. What does this idiom mean, or this expression? When you say someone is a lone wolf, this is someone that enjoy his own company. Okay, someone who prefers to spend time alone or work alone. This person is a lone wolf. For example, he's a lone wolf and enjoys working by himself. Is there anyone in your family or any of your friends that's a lone wolf? So when someone is a lone wolf, he or she prefers their own company. They like to do things alone. They like to be alone. Okay? And often we use this idiom when you describe someone who enjoys, independence, who just wants to be alone, who wants to do things on his own. Yeah. You can say, Josie is a lone wolf. He prefers studying alone, for example. So think of an example, write it down. We're going to come back to working it out together. The next idiom I have is, you often hear someone's bark is worse than their bite. Yes. For example, you can say his bark is worse than his bite. What this expression or idiom means is that someone may appear frightening, by screaming and all of that, but he doesn't really, person doesn't really do much harm. The person can just scream and shout, and the person appears harsh when you look at him. The way he acts, the way he behaves is harsh, but in the end, it wouldn't carry out his threat, right? He just screams and shouts and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But in the end, does nothing. So you can describe that kind of person as someone whose bark is worse than their bite. For example, which animal barks? Is a dog, right? A dog barks. And when a dog barks, what happens? You're scared, you're afraid, you want to run away, right? And if a dog bites you, you know what that means. So when you describe someone as person whose bark is worse than their bite, it only means that outwardly they shout, they make threats, but in the end they don't really, carry out their threats, or they don't do anything. I hope we get the gist. Now let me give you example. You can use it like this. Don't worry. You can say, don't worry about the manager. His bark is worse than his bite. In other words, he would only scream, he wouldn't do anything at all. In a nutshell, that's what it means. When you say someone's bark is worse than their bite, it simply means they threaten but can't do anything. I hope we're taking notes. I'm going to wipe this off as well. Okay, now let's go to the next one I have here. Sometimes you can describe someone as a dark horse. What does this idiom mean? A dark horse. What does when you say someone is a dark horse, what does it mean? Actually, when you describe someone as a dark horse, it means this person hides what they can really do. They surprise everyone by what they can really do. They have a talent, or maybe they are more successful than they appear. Okay? But they don't show off. So someone who doesn't show off, but they appear to be more than what people expect them to be. That personality, that person is, you can describe the person as a dark horse. Okay? So someone who unexpectedly performs better, than expected. That is a dark horse. For example, you can say, she was a dark horse in the competition, or he was a dark horse in the competition. No one expected him to win, but he won. It means he had hidden his skills, what he could do. So that is a dark horse, someone who surprises people with their ability. Okay, very good. We're getting there. We're almost there. Now the fifth idiom I have, I hope you're taking note. The fifth idiom I have is when you would often hear people say, she wouldn't say boo to a goose. You use this idiom to describe people's personality. So someone who wouldn't say boo to a goose is someone that is very, very shy, very quiet, very, that is not confident when speaking with people. So that is a personality of someone who wouldn't say boo to a goose. And you use it to describe people that are, extremely shy or nervous when they are in front of people. For example, let me give you an example. For example, you could say something like, when he first joined the company, he wouldn't say boo to a goose. In other words, he wouldn't speak to anyone. He was so nervous to speak to people. Someone who's really timid, who's really nervous around people, you can describe them as one who wouldn't say boo to a goose. I hope you get the gist. All right, the last idiom I have today is, I think we all know this one. When someone is a social butterfly. Who among you is a social butterfly? So a social butterfly is someone who enjoys meeting people and talking to everyone. Yes, someone who enjoys meeting people and talking to everyone can be described as a social butterfly. So someone that is very friendly, someone that is outgoing, you can describe the person as a social butterfly. So who among you is a social butterfly? Who do you know? Who among your friends is a social butterfly? Okay, please support the session. That will mean a lot. Let's like, let's share. And for everyone that's tapping and liking, I really appreciate you. Thank you. And for everyone standing by to watch, I appreciate you. And thank you for being here. Please, let's support the live. Let's share. Let's like the live. Okay? So a social butterfly is someone who enjoys meeting people and talking to everyone. For example, you can say, my colleague is a social butterfly. Everyone likes him. Okay, so a social butterfly is an outgoing person, someone that enjoys meeting people and spending time with people. Okay, so, and we can say a social butterfly is the opposite of a lone wolf, right? A lone wolf is someone who enjoys his or her own company, doesn't like associating with others. On the other hand, a social butterfly is someone who enjoys people's company, enjoys making friends and spending time with people. If you didn't go away with anything from this session today, please go away with these two idioms, social butterfly and a lone wolf. Okay, so if you're just joining today, we've practiced 6 idioms with animal vocabulary, and one of them was to hurt a fly or to not be able to hurt a fly. For example, he wouldn't hurt a fly. What it simply means is that someone that is described as wouldn't hurt a fly is harmless. Okay, and we also talked about a lone wolf, someone who enjoys his or her own company. And we also mentioned when someone's bark is worse than their bite. What that means is that the person can only threaten but cannot really do anything. Okay, they are threats. They are only out for threats. Okay, and a dark horse is someone that surprises everyone with their talent or what they can do. And then we talked about one who wouldn't say boo to a goose, someone who's timid, shy, and who's nervous around people. And then we talked about a social butterfly as the opposite, right? Opposite of someone who wouldn't say boo to a goose, and also the opposite of a lone wolf. So someone who wouldn't, or who always enjoys the company of others. So all of these idioms are natural expressions that you would hear native speakers use. And if you're preparing for IELTS or other form of exams, you would often, be given idioms like this, to write. So that's why I take my time. Idioms, it doesn't only make your vocabulary richer. What it does is it helps you understand native speakers, and it helps your English sound more natural when you're able to use them correctly.